Hello and welcome back to our Underworld series. It's on the feed here, won't be that long, but it's been quite a while for us. I think we recorded the last one back in February, but I'm very excited to be getting to the Fast in the Underworld, the Rise of the Tokyo Drift, and it's this is a big one. This is the one that I saw in the theater, the singular one.
You had to do it. You just had to go there, didn't you? Interesting. Well, that's definitely what he just said tells me what he thinks of this movie.
Well, I won't go that far. I won't. It certainly feels that way in a lot of different aspects. And I will definitely be comparing this a little bit to another movie I saw this same year, Fast and the Furious in the theater. Actually, now I think about it, I saw quite a few movies this year that turned me against multiple franchises. Oh, that's weird now I'm thinking about it. I can think of at least three examples.
You saw Fast and the Furious in theaters?
Fast and Furious, yeah. That's the only one I saw in the theater.
Wait, this year?
In 2009.
Okay, sorry, 2009. I heard you said this year. I'm like in the theater. Like what?
Yeah, no, just, well, maybe I'll get into it when we talk about the movie, but I've just now been thinking.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we'll do that. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, those between and affiliated to this commentary. Hopefully, we provide some form of entertainment to you, or something that hopefully is intellectually stimulating. I don't know if that will be the case, but please get your legally or illegally purchased digital or physical copies of Underworld: Rise of the Lycans. And Caleb, take it away.
Yeah, if we could all get to timestamp 0, we'll hit play when I say the word play. So I'll go 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, turn off my volume there. Yeah, so I was just thinking, I saw this in the theater and I was like, okay, no more Underworld for me. Fast and Furious, no more Fast and Furious. I did the same thing at the time with the Transformers, and I did the same thing at the time with X-Men, all that same year. Weird.
I guess this was 2006, wasn't it?
And now I think about it, I think that was the first year, 2006. This one is 2009.
Oh, 2000. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Because I was like, when you said, oh, I guess, yeah, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I think about it, I think that was the first year I started going to movies on my own, because I'm pretty sure I went to go see this one in the theater on my own.
Well, I suppose you probably should have also stopped watching Star Trek after that.
I didn't see that one in the theater. No,
Smart.
wait, I think I did actually, now I think about it. But we're starting up here with a ton of lore, and I meant to ask this before we press play. Did you know this was going to be a prequel coming in?
Absolutely not. I thought you said that in the last commentary, and I did get a chance to listen to our previous commentary that we did of this. I thought you meant that you hadn't seen this film, but you actually did.
This was the last one I saw. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm mistaken than what you had said.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this one was a big deal. I was very hyped for this movie, seeing the trailers, and just I was a fan of those first two, and I was like, oh, I really like that Lucian character. Now I get a really good chance to spend some time delving into that. And I'll spoil my thoughts at the time where I thought that this was another in a long line of just bad sequel or bad prequels. At the time, I was extremely against the whole prequel movement in general, and this movie did not in any way help with that. Seeing it for a second time today, I feel like I had much more nuanced opinions than I did back then. But what do you think about the idea of them doing this prequel here and these early scenes? What were your thoughts on your first viewing there?
Well, I was surprised. I was like, so we hear Celine talk about the backstory a bit, and we had seen prior scenes in the previous two films of these events that were that were lore to this entire universe. And I was actually waiting. I was waiting patiently for them to kind of push us through, or the movie to go by, and then like go back to present day. And then we kept going, and we kept going. Now, this is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, we kept going, and then, like, by the end, it's like, oh, it was a prequel. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. The whole way
I
through.
wonder what Caleb's going to have to say about this.
The whole way through you were wondering, or did you maybe like 20 minutes in realize, okay,
Half. I think about the 30-minute mark. I was like, okay, I guess this is the entire movie, right?
Mm. Yeah, and what do you think about that concept? Or do you feel like, I guess I'll spoil it for myself at the time. I was like, as much as I really like that Lucian character, having now sat through it all, I feel like I felt at the time like this prequel added nothing new. I'll say this time I maybe still don't feel like it added anything new, but I like seeing the world at this period because in general, I like the underworld uh, kind of mythology that they got going on. So getting a chance to look at how vampires were integrated into the more integrated in the society at this time. Working with the humans with they're kind of the human elite teaming up with the vampire elite. I thought that those power dynamics were kind of cool, but I don't think at the time I was paying as much attention to that stuff back in 2009.
Yeah, they didn't go in this one. They didn't go too fully into how the vampires and the human nobles interact. They do, of course, but
Yeah.
this movie's a lot more trying to be an uprising film for the resistance. That being, of course, Lycans, as they are treated as slaves, and so it's slave uprising. Who doesn't love a movie love? It's quite empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see how empowering it was, but yeah, I was definitely thinking some Spartacus and in some moments later in the movie. um, but I will say, 2009, just in general, I feel like was filled with a lot of movies with just bad CGI. This one I wouldn't necessarily call it bad, but I feel like it's a step down from the previous two. At least that's what I'm thinking now. It's been a while since I watched those first two, but
From my recollection, I think it's almost on par with that. I mean, if it is CGI, it's really well hidden CGI.
and it could just be more they're using a lot more of it now, because back in the early 2000s, maybe they're just being more selective and careful. Now they're using it a lot more.
And that was the only time that weapon was going to come into effect.
Yep, I kept waiting for it to come back. It was pretty damn cool.
Thought we had a similar weapon to that back in either the first one or the second one.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was curious. I was considering actually going back and rewatching those first two because it's been a long time since we watched that first one now. I think it was around October of last year. Now it's very nearly October 2023. So that's quite a while ago.
I actually was going to do the same thing where I was going to just like binge both quickly and then just to get myself up to date.
Heh.
Because this one, I think, is a little bit more of a prequel to the first movie rather than like, okay, sorry. This one's more tied to the first movie. I mean, excuse me.
Well, I think that I mean, you can tell that this is the same crew coming along again, and they are very fixated on filling out their mythology. There's a couple bits that I felt were missing, but like this Tanis character, he appeared in that second movie, and they've super beefed up his part. I was actually really surprised coming back to this, seeing how much time they dedicate to that super minor character in that second movie. But I kind of like it. I think that the actor serves it out well and proves that he was worth beefing up a part for.
Um, Doctor Who actors go. I mean, I think you probably mentioned this in the first commentary, but give me some Doctor Who. Who's been in who, other than the obvious?
The only one I recognize is Bill Nye. I don't know if there's another one in this.
I'm still surprised that Michael Sheen was not in, has yet to be in Doctor Who.
Yeah, maybe one day. But yeah, Bill Nye, he was amping it up. He's taking the camp. Yeah, he's good in this, I'll say. But there are some bits where he is just campy as hell in this one.
Most definitely. Was this? No, that was sorry. I was like, was this the same year as when he was in Deathly Hollows? No, that was 2010.
Oh,
Or was? Oh wait, no. Was he in Half Blood Prince? I don't remember. No, yeah, he was because Fudge gets removed in Order of the Phoenix, and
mm,
then Slughorn comes in. Not sorry, not Rufus something. I forget his last name, but he comes in and is then the Minister of Magic, and I don't know, just like the safe version, I suppose, or the safe can't choice.
yeah.
Skidmore? No.
Yeah, and he is weird as hell in that too. I think his performance is really strange in those early scenes.
Of Half Blood Prince, you mean?
of Deathly Hollows Part One.
Okay, maybe it is Deathly Hallows instead. Whoops, never mind.
He's not in Half Blood Prince, I don't believe.
Oh, I was incorrect. Thank you for correcting me.
But I mentioned that it's mainly the same team here, and in terms of the writers, yeah, it's a lot of the same folks coming back. But if they did bring in someone sort of new to the series as the director, I mean, he'd been doing special effects, but this Patrick Topoulos or something like that.
Yeah, Totopoulos, I saw that. And the credits there is Caleb, is he a puppet? And did Len Wiseman have his hand up the butt?
I It could be. I saw this guy. This is his first and last feature film. He was mainly a special effects guy, and he'd worked on those first two. And yeah, I guess they bumped him up. Len Wiseman said that he was just busy, and so he couldn't take on the directing responsibility. But apparently, they'd been actually thinking about doing a prequel almost immediately once they finished the first one. They had put together this idea of doing a trilogy and wanted to end with this one. That's what they claim, at least. Who knows if that's the case?
I don't know if we. I don't think these guys have showed me that they have Lucasisms. There's I don't think there's any like and I mean it's been 20 years or at least close to 20 years by this point. So I don't think there's anything shrouded in mystery. I think they can I think what they say is to probably be believed. And
Yeah,
at the same time with the puppet the hand up the butt, I don't think that is the case in the same way as Lucas, where I think this is the different story where um Totopoulos may have filled in, but I don't think it was out of like, oh, let me just, I have a huge Lynn Wiseman, I have a huge ego. It's like I don't think so. I think it was just, pressed for time. So he's like, here, can you do this? And he's like, sure, I'll do it.
yeah, and I think this one has a definitely a different flavor than those other two. I mean, feels like it's still in the same series, but it has its own unique kind of vibe to it.
I will say, whoever was the director of photography, I probably saw it, but I forgot their name. Pardon me. It actually does look very similar to the first one,
Hmm.
despite being was that first one 2003.
Yep, yep,
6 years. Photography still looks pretty much the same. Like, well, not the same, but like I like that. It kind of has its own filter, like the Underworld filter go.
yeah. Almost like a gray tint to everything, a kind of a chrome tint. I think the first one had more of like a blue chrome. This one has a little bit of a yeah, like a gray tone. But either way, yeah, definitely distinct look. I'm curious how much that's going to stay with the rest of the movies.
Now, I wonder because this was also filmed in New Zealand. I wonder if they just literally were like, "All right, where are the Lord of the Rings sets? Let's just go over there and modify a few of them." And then this was the I don't want to believe this, but I wonder if this was like trying to fill in that fantasy power vacuum that Lord of the Rings had left back in '03.
No, that's a very interesting point. Yeah, that might have been why they're thinking of doing a prequel right after finishing up the first one. Yeah, seeing the success with Lord of the Rings movies. And again, I don't think it's a bad place to put it. It is interesting to think that I didn't necessarily remember that all the Lycans came from Lucian here. Maybe they said that in the first movie and I just forgot that detail. But I was surprised it was only like 20 years after the Corvinus brothers became like werewolves and vampires that this guy appeared. I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's funny how recent that was. You're correct. It's very very recent in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when I will admit, yeah, having not seen these movies in a while, been quite some time, I was surprised when the Celine was saying, this is where Lucian came from, and then he created this new race called the Lycans, and so I thought this was going to be like, we'll flash forward to then present day, and like it's Lycans, but it's like, wait a minute, we already saw that. That was the first movie.
Yeah, and we do get a couple scenes in this that are basically right in that first movie, but not too
Are they
many.
redone?
I did find out that yeah, you mentioned some Lucasisms because when we watched this previously, I watched it on my old DVD. But it turns out for the Blu-rays, they remastered and inserted the scene from this movie into the first one during the memory.
Interesting.
So you might
That's
have seen the modern version now.
most definitely. You know, it's that's not a yeah. That's I can accept that as Lucasism just because it's like I mean it's the exact same thing they wanted. So like, eh. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were able to put this actress into that first one now, make it flow a little bit better. The original one was a different actress, and she had like blonde hair. So,
Continuity error. It's like Sarah Lance in Arrow season one, and then different character or different actor in season two.
oh, here we get the passion scene.
Speaking of this actor, she looks. I could not get it past my head that she looked like Linda Hamilton.
Oh, I could see it a little bit. Hmm. Yeah, I only knew her from one thing, a movie that came out the year before this called Doomsday. Yeah, this, I think it, I can't remember who put it out, but I was excited because I liked the director at the time, and then seeing that movie, it kind of killed my interest in his career. I thought it was a pretty damn bad movie. But and so when I saw this in the theater, I was like, oh, there's that actress again. Oh crap, I hated her in that other movie, and she's okay in this. She's no Kate Beckinsale, but I think she's serves this role well enough.
Pretty sure that was the point, though. Just I remember that Victor had that line, or yeah, he had that line of like, "It reminds me so much of Celine." That's why of Sonia, excuse me. That's why I spared Celine because she looks like her.
Yep. Yeah, no, so that was smart of them. Yeah.
And yeah, we talked over it, but yeah, the a passionate scene this time, like quite sensual and well, yeah, just I guess tasteful, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think it was fine for this movie that they start with their romance already, having been a thing. There's a lot in this movie that I feel like they've, streamlined as best they could, considering the extremely short runtime. I mean, without the credits, this movie's only 83 minutes long. That is super duper short for a movie like this.
Quite, and it's a good thing too because I don't think it would have. I don't know how much more they could have gone into into this world itself. Not this world, excuse me. I don't know how much more story they could get from this.
Yeah, yeah, pretty basic plot. There was only one thing I kept waiting to happen, and then by the end, I finally realized that they were just telling a different story than I was expecting. Oh, I do like this line about the him being like, "How is it they were both, you know, part of the Corvinus kind of legacy, but only my kin are the slaves." It's quite sad.
That's what I meant. That was the thing that you and I liked about Michael Sheen's character from the first film. There is that they were like comparing like they are enslavement, so it's like oh this is like there's some like cool weight to this. I kind of like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in that first one, they had framed it almost like we kind of commented that it was almost like the rich elite kind of pissing on the lower, like the Romani people,
Yep,
Romani travelers.
correct.
And now, yeah, they're doing more straight, just slave versus the elite kind of stuff. Both work, I think. Just maybe have a different flavor.
Definitely backing your claims of it being Spartacus.
Oh yeah, yeah. He has his his big speech moments later on. Oh, here's the creepers out there, and I actually really like the idea of the William werewolves, the ones that can't turn back and are just like beasts. I like that they're all lingering around because I don't think we really see much of them, or at least we didn't see much of them in those first two.
Yeah, no, it was mostly just Lycans, and then the second one only it was just William. It was nobody else.
Yeah, maybe Tanis. He might have had because remember when we go to Tanis's house, he's got that little underground place with three Lycans that attack.
Yes,
Maybe they couldn't turn back. I don't know. I wasn't quite sure.
perhaps. Yeah, maybe those either were Lycans or those were actual werewolves.
Well, I feel like they do the design a little bit differently, so maybe those are just Lycans. But yeah, it's been a while. Now these people that they're bringing this with the slaves, it's rich noble like humans that are bringing them, right?
I was thinking that at first I thought they were also slaves. I was like, huh, I guess there's like uh, they speak for the slaves. No, it's yeah, it's noblemen. Okay, interesting. So like a duke of some sort.
Yeah, and I guess they're paying their like taxes, just bringing in some slaves for them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yikes.
I think I could see I think I could see a version of this movie where it's a lot more talky and less actiony, but this is an action series, not a talky series. Well, there's talky bits, but there's more action over talky.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it ultimately does work well enough for this kind of movie, the way that they do it. Because yeah, if it was like 2 hours long, it might start to feel bloated. I mean, I guess they could have filled out some details around the edges a little bit more. For instance, I kept wondering the whole way through. I was like, okay, when are we going to start talking about Craven? Because I know that Craven played a role with supposedly killing Lucian here, but really he was working together, and so I kept waiting for that character to appear. But I didn't realize because, of course, that takes place at like the end of Lucian's story, at least in this time period, and this is just the beginning of his battles. So
And Craven also was not yet a vampire, or at least not had been yet introduced.
yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, it was just my expectations coming in. And that is the tough part of a prequel in general, is you always come in with pre-baked expectations of what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's the. This is the case. This is you've made this case to me before, and it definitely is starting to. I'm starting to adopt that mentality. You are right in that sense, Caleb. What is the problem with this? I mean, you probably already explained, but what is it with prequels? How can you make a compelling story without knowing the end result?
It's tough. Yeah, they just have to convince you not to care that you know what's going to happen. Like the whole time with this romance, it's like, yeah, we've seen the first movie. We know how this is going to end between the two of them. Can they make us really care about, by the time we get to that, feeling emotionally moved by the fact that we're seeing something that we've already seen before? And that's a tough trick for a lot of stories to, because you can't help but compare to what you've seen already as well, especially ones that are super mythology driven, like this franchise and the Star Wars franchise. You already got a lot in there that you don't want them to screw up either. Which I don't necessarily feel like this movie does, but maybe I'm not close enough with the continuity to remember all the details.
They have a quota to meet. There's continuity. We don't want to mess any of that up.
I think this is not a bad little action scene. I like the way they introduce. Is it Ray's Kevin?
Rays. Yep. Rays.
Well,
Kevin Graveau, I believe is how you say his name.
yeah, it sounds right. Or Gravu maybe. Yeah, I like the way they introduce him here. Just a big badass.
Which I thought he was already a Lycan, or at least he had enhanced strength. Because I mean, the guy's huge. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but like the way he like punted one of those werewolves, I was like, dang, he's punching him back. Like he's got force to him. It's like, oh wait, oh never mind. He's a normal human. Never mind.
I guess that's why Lucian sees something in him. Like even a human, just a lowly human, is as powerful will he be if he's like me.
Now maybe this is a little too much. Maybe apologies for costume, not even the costume department, but concept artists. I wonder if there should have been a difference. There was a visual difference between Williams werewolves and then the Lycans.
I think there is a smidge. I think it comes down to a little bit less hair in the nostril, or the what's the word? Not nostrils, or uh
Jawline.
yeah, whatever the nose shape is. One of them's the more, William werewolves are more pointed and more wolf-like. The human ones are a bit more stocky.
Okay, so it looks more like a modified human skull.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the most distinct, but there is a slight difference.
Because when we get him like roaring at the William werewolves later on, it's like I guess we're about to have it now. So it's like
Yeah, we'll see now.
I definitely want to see like how pronounced and are different because that was a big thing. I was like, where is the difference here between both of them? Especially because when we get um, lead singer Creed when he's his mix his hybrid form, it's like that's different. Like there's a complete difference.
Yeah, do you see some of the difference there?
Okay, I sort of see what you mean. Where his nostrils kind of don't look more like a wolf. They look more like they look. Yeah, I see. So like the werewolves have like a snout to them, and he has more like a dog face almost. Not a dog face, but like
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I that's a okay, that's actually clever. That's clever where they make him look more like a dog. That's I like that. I don't know if dog is the right word, excuse me, but just like his I'm not gonna say like oh what the heck what kind of dog am I thinking of? Not a bulldog, maybe. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Pardon me, but I do like that idea of like when you breed huskies um, with wolves. It's like I think the jawline shrinks slightly. I don't know. I don't know my dog genetics.
I do like that raise there. He's just, another edge that he has is just being observant. He noticed all that when no one else was really paying enough attention to realize, like, oh wow, he said something and they all obeyed. That's a big deal.
And so he does the smart thing and waits. He certainly waits.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also a slight foregone conclusion of like we know who Ray's is. Now I wonder if
yeah.
this. Here's my question to you. This is another thing. I think one minor inconsistency with this film is that there's a lot of full moons, unless this all takes place within the same like few nights. But I forget are the werewolves tied to the full moon again in this one?
The Lycans, no. Yeah, I guess none of them are. Yeah, because
Okay,
the William werewolves are trapped like that, and the Lycans can change at will.
because we see like a full moon like 3 nights, and I'm like, or maybe not 3 nights, but it just seems like there's always a full moon. I'm like, okay, it's gotta wane at some point. Can't always be like a full moon at all times. There'd be problems with that. There'd be planetary consequences for what happens there. Here's my question: if you were to recommend that, well, I think we have recommended the series for people to go and take a look at,
Hmm.
have a watch. Would you suggest that they start with this one?
No, no way, no way.
Okay, fair enough.
I would never recommend that with any prequels. I feel like they're too informed, and yeah, they're not designed to really be viewed that way. I don't think, despite what some filmmakers say, like George Lucas. Yeah, you're meant to see the ones that come first, because then you'll get all the references that they're shoving in there.
This is fair. My question to you is Dune. Not being an exception, but Dune has, some prequels or has, the God Emperor of Dune. So like, would you read Dune first before you read God Emperor, or just like, yeah, Dune first, then God Emperor?
Oh yes, always Dune first. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the prequels, the by Frank Herbert's son, I don't know if I'd recommend any of those. I barely tried to read them, and the ones that I've tried to read it did not interest me. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about those. Maybe I can't voice an opinion, but I would definitely always start with the original. Yeah, and here we get this little common scene in these kind of slave revolt stories: the big abuse scene, the whipping scene.
He gets 30 lashes, unlike what SpongeBob gets.
Yeah, I just watched a movie with a very similar scene that was just crazy brutal, and it was tough to watch. I wish I could remember what movie that was. I think this one's effective enough. We saw that this slave driver earlier was just looking to get his jollies and hated the fact that Lucian, being the favorite of the kind of lord of the coven, could kind of get away with telling him to pull back a little bit. And I think that the whole uh, him being like or Lucian being kind of Victor's surrogate son, and him looking down and like, oh, even though you're one of these inferior races, I can still see you as one of the good ones. I think they played that element well as they could for this movie as well. I think that has some emotional impact. Slight, but it's there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
His back is just juicy. Like wow. Um, you saying that actually does remind me of I don't know something, but yeah, I remember something along that lines in another story, but I cannot like for the life of me remember it.
Prince of Egypt a little bit.
Maybe, but like I mean, there is that as well. But this, I mean, I don't know which has more blood, that or this.
Oh, yeah, I guess technically, yeah, that.
I mean, we do see well, we don't see, but like there's a lot of slaughter of the lambs. Although nobody drinks blood. I mean, the river turns to blood, but like nobody actually drinks the blood.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, I kept wondering in this movie, I was like, hey, wait a minute, why doesn't she have the blue eyes? What's going on?
I was thinking the same thing.
But she does have them later in the movie, and so I looked it up, and I guess that they did it in the first two as well, just very briefly. So I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with, I don't know. I couldn't quite figure out why they did that. But
Is it just like it'd be surprising given that this team like would forget like that's an oversight on their part, given that we see Victor here having his pronounced blue eyes.
yeah, and his never are never human like. Maybe it's because he's been like this for a while. No, I guess it wouldn't be that long either. Only like 20 years, maybe.
Only 20 years.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure out why for her. But yeah, no, apparently it's something to do with emotion in those first two. And I kind of wonder if maybe just the actress in this just didn't want to wear them. I don't know.
I mean, I'll take having to wear contacts to change my eye color over having to paint my whole. Well, okay, maybe okay. I won't say that, but I think like between wearing contacts to change your eye color over the Mystique bodysuit or just body makeup, I think the contacts are easier.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. Let's ask Rey Mysterio. I don't know if he knows.
I thought, aren't those his real eyes?
No, he's got his contacts
Oh,
because
okay,
he switches them up every now and again too.
fair enough.
I'm sure it was something in kayfabe that those are his real eyes. I remember even just a little while ago, maybe like 3 years ago or so, he had like kayfabe like lost an eye too.
Oh, what the hey?
Yeah, some then they just abandoned it.
Interesting.
But this prison scene with him and Baze, I think that this dynamic works well. I wish that Baze had actually, or Ray's, not Baze Malbus or whatever.
I, I know you're forget it. You're thinking Rogue One.
I think Ray's the part that he has in this movie I like, but I feel like they could have expanded this character more as well.
I and my other question was as well with this prequel. Do you think that you are now moved by watching the first one and sympathizing even further with the Lycans' cause?
Uh could be. I mean, we already saw that these vampires are kind of scumbags, and this is so removed because it's been so many different years. But it does surprise me that these people are this old. Like I didn't realize that Ray's had been with him since the beginning too. Now that makes his death more impactful, I guess, if you really
Yeah,
view movies that way. I have a difficult time doing that.
yeah.
I have a difficult time letting prequels inform the originals. Just something in my head with what's the word? Uh, what's the word? Sequentialism. I think it's too baked in my head to really look at things that way. I always see it in the release order.
I guess speaking of release order, I guess The Hobbit was the first book, and then Lord of the Rings came after that. But that was completely the opposite when it comes to the movies.
Yep.
That was
And so in that way, yeah, I'd never watched those movies thinking that they take place before.
certainly not. And my statement was obvious. I'm aware of that, but I also just realized, wait, oh yeah, that's right. I guess that is the case. But I
Yeah.
guess that was the problem with everybody. Like, it's like, oh, it's a prequel. It's like, actually, it was the first book. These are like the Lord of the Rings are the sequels.
Yeah, but weirdly The Hobbit had so many prequel-itis issues. Oh,
You know what? I just realized the Magician's Nephew. I actually still kind of want to see an adaptation of that one day.
Magician's Nephew. Is that
Magician's Nephew. That is the first.
yeah, the Narnia stuff?
Yep, that's the first book, air quotes, not first, but that's the like prequel to Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Oh, it's a prequel. I had no idea. I read that years ago when I was reading the Narnia books. I read it in sequence and I was like, this book, there's not much here. I had struggled to get through that book.
So
I thought that was maybe just an old one that he wasn't quite as polished as a writer yet.
Lion Witch and the Ward. That's the funny thing. Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I think it's Is it 6 or 7? I thought it was 6. No, I thought it was 7. I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, seven, the silver chair, and then I forget. Might be one to be between there. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Oh, right, the boy. No, so uh, yeah, Lion the Wardrobe. Is it the boy and his horse or boy and stump something? Prince Caspian.
Maybe I'll look it up, but just back to the movie shortly.
Yeah, sorry.
I do like this, even though we don't get much stuff with the humans. I wish that we got more. I do like seeing that one guy stepping up and being like, "Hey, man, these guys aren't human. They're abusing us. Like, what are we gonna do here?" So I guess they're kind of fooling the humans into thinking, well, only like half fooling. Like it's like an open secret that these guys are something other than them and kind of controlling them as well.
Yeah, that's a whole other like I guess comic of what are these vampire how do these vampires fit into history, not history, but how do they fit into like the human politics?
Yeah, yeah. And I like just the tendrils of it. Maybe we didn't need much more. Maybe we just didn't need to dedicate the time to it. But I wouldn't have minded just a tiny bit more.
I suppose less is more. Yeah, I guess so. Again, like maybe they were like, the script's a little bit too like fat. Let's trim it all down. And it's like we get this still passable.
Okay, here we go. Here's Narnia book story in order. I just looked it up.
Thank you.
So it's Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, The Boy and His Horse, then The Magician's Nephew, and The Last Battle.
That is hilarious. Okay, so it was the boy and their horse. Okay, so I didn't realize the silver chair was number book 4. That's hilarious.
I've only read up to Silver Chair, but including The Magician's Nephew first. So I've never read those last two.
I think I've read Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe like maybe 3 times. Everything else once. My dad read them to me as a kid.
Oh, cool.
And the silver chair I still do not remember, but I know for a fact it is the one that comes after Voyage of the not yeah Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So it's like post all the what the hey is that family's name? But the 4 kids, what are their last name is?
Oh,
Pensive? Nope, that's I'm thinking Harry Potter.
yeah. In Harry Potter.
Percival? No. Whatever the kids are, the 4 kids after like
Yeah.
they like after the Voyages of the Dawn Treader and Prince Caspian, they just like Silver Shares much later. Boy and His Horse, I remember, is like a in between Lion the Witch and Wardrobe and Prince Caspian. I remember that because it was when like the time of when they reigned as kings and queens.
Yes, maybe this is getting too far into the save this for our Chronicles of Narnia podcast.
Yes, yeah, of course. But I just remember there's a lot of imagery I remember in The Magician's Nephew, and that just reminded me of this. That's I don't know why.
Yeah, how do you feel like Sonya's character pops in this movie? Are you with her, or are you more with Lucian? Like, do you care about her side of it?
I suppose maybe more Lucian because I was won over by Michael Sheen's performance in the first one, and I thought his character had like a lot of strong points and a lot more. I sided with him in his arguments when it came to the treatment of Lycans with what the vampires were doing to them, or mistreatment, excuse me, and treating them as inhumans, almost completely inhuman.
Yeah, yeah. I think we kind of felt like he was the standout character in that first commentary. I think that we were saying that. But yeah, compared to all of them, he was the one that felt the most well rounded.
I don't know if it would have. Well, forgive me. I don't know if it would have been a good idea, but I wonder if they should have had Sonya instead. When hit like with him, either resisting or like we shouldn't start the story off with her already loving Lucian. Maybe we should like see the slave charm the rich girl, I suppose, or the noble girl.
Yeah, I think that would have actually helped warm up to her character more because, yeah, I feel like we really don't get too much of her. I mean, she gets some screen time, but in terms of having a real chance to really pop as a character, really grow. We don't really see much of that. She's kind of already had her growth before the movie even starts. She's already trying to rebel. She's already in love with Lucian. I guess she's already had her kind of point of view that this whole werewolf rule is wrong. Or maybe it was more that she was just such a rebel. You know, she fell in love with a Lycan. She never wanted to listen to what her dad told her in general. And maybe she becomes more politically motivated, sort of, as it goes along. I wish that we got more of that just in general of her being like, oh, we should free all the Lycans. I think that would have helped her character if they highlighted that more. We get a couple lines near the end, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah, Sherry just starts off as being the lover of Lucian, and I'm like, I feel like if he won her, like, pardon me if I'm repeating myself, but if he had won her over through, I guess, his rebellion, resisting his master and or the system he was in, and her father putting pressure on her or something like that, some inciting incident that makes her worldview shatter, or at least be like, I don't like the system anymore, and she starts being wooed by him. I don't know if that makes her. I hope. I mean, this isn't exactly like a great. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this passes the Bechdel test at all, but like, I hope that would give her agency somehow.
Yeah.
I guess it would give her character the ability to change. So it's like, I guess that helps.
Yeah, like I guess the way they, because we have that moment when he, takes off his chains to embrace his like himself to save her. If that moment could have been more pivotal, if they'd finagled it in a way that that was kind of her changing her point of view. Like maybe she always liked him, but she looked down on the other Lycans, like, oh yeah, maybe you're one of the good ones as well. Maybe if they found a way for her to have that viewpoint change partway through the movie, that could have been stronger.
I don't know if okay, this probably wouldn't have gone well. Well, I think most of the time this team is doing a good job with with scenes and acting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if they could have also had us have flashbacks of her treating Lucian as a pet, almost when they were kids, and
Hmm.
her, like, ordering him around, treating him like a dog, and, like, playing fetch with him, or so, treating him as an inhuman, and he always like resisted her or something like that. He always like stood up to her. He didn't fight back, but just in his staunch, and or by being static, or at least remaining strong and true to himself, he doesn't what is it, he doesn't get, that's what wins her over eventually, of just how resilient he is and unwilling to be broken.
Yeah, maybe what they could have done, going back to them being kids, because we see a little bit of it in this movie.
Yes.
Maybe they could have expanded that out, added in like 6 or 7 minutes, and just did a big time jump. Like maybe show like, oh, maybe there's a romance starting as them as kids, and then we jump up to the current time and just continue as is. Maybe that could have built out something there. Because yeah, out of the three, or I guess out of the four central characters with Victor, Lucian, Tanis, and Sonya, I feel like she's the weakest link. Not necessarily like a really poor one, but just the one that feels like it has the least interest. Because for whatever reason, Tanis in this one, I feel like I'd like to know more about what's going on in his head. He seems like an interesting kind of little a back player, this insidious kind of guy who learns their secret early on and is just kind of playing around the fringes. Like it seems like he only has some loyalties to himself. Maybe he doesn't even care about the Lycan versus Vampire War, just his own advancement of power.
Yeah, it's like Worm Tongue. Where's that from? That's was that
Yeah, Lord of the Rings again.
Lord of the Rings? Thank you. There we go. Yeah, exactly. But I forget what like his character represents, or like where that character comes from. But like, yeah, that kind of type of character where he's scheming. He has his own agenda.
Yeah, yeah. Except Worm Tongue, fuck, Worm Tongue. I feel like had a more direct tie to the evil cause with Sauron.
Yeah, sorry, that's not who I'm thinking of. I just That's the name I remember. Plus, it sounded like you had worms in your tongue.
Yes, yeah, very much so. But yeah, definitely that kind of seedy element that maybe you don't want in your council because you can't trust that guy. He's got his own ideas going on.
he's a player. He has his own, like, not only that, but he has his own character to him. That means he's wanting to uh keep going with himself, or not, but he wants to advance himself in life. He has plans. It's not just I'm going to serve this master forever. I want to acquire more power and have control.
Yeah, and this was the one case in this movie where I was watching it, and I was like, oh, I wish that the second movie hadn't done what they did with Tannis because they killed him off in that one. And after watching this, I was like, oh, I feel like they could have done more with that character in the franchise going forward because we don't in that second movie he was just kind of a fun, just kind of weird side character that we were introduced to, and then we get a lot here, but it's still the beginning of his story as well, and just to not see all the
That
interesting.
was he was in the brothel, correct? In the second one?
Yeah, it was like his compound. He had like two vampire chicks there that he was sleeping with.
That's who it was. Okay, for some reason I was thinking of somebody else, but I was like, yeah, who are we talking about? It's like, oh, that's who. Okay, yeah, that makes
Yeah, and
sense.
they went to go see him because they knew that he had some old scrolls relating to that.
That, thank you.
Yeah, so we see at the end here he's running off with the scrolls and saving the coffins that they all sleep in.
You and your dang scrolls, as Victor said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a waterbending scroll in there too, and I was like, "Hey, where's Guitar?"
Oh, nice, very nice. Did you see any wanted posters as well?
No, I was looking, but I didn't see him. Might have been too early. Oh, but here we go, getting the kind of slave revolt about 44 minutes in, about halfway through, I guess, with this such a short run time.
Oops.
Yeah,
Perception check.
and I think that they handle this brutally enough with some of the
This might be one of the most, like, visceral scenes in the whole movie,
yeah,
because like this is almost near levels of Verhoeven.
yeah, that people are just getting fucked up, and I was like, oh, I actually feel real bad for these slaves, all these guys trying to escape, and only it seems like only like 5 or 6 of our guys managed to get out. It's like, damn,
It looked like more escaped, but I was actually surprised with how many got trapped. And it's
yeah,
like this whole, like,
ooh,
I don't know who it was who thought of this, like, whole, let's just have them like start hurling scorpios or just launch spears at these slaves and literally trap them with body, like, with their own bodies.
yeah,
I'm like, this is metal as flip. Holy crap.
no, yeah, this is one of the cooler scenes in the movie, definitely. I liked when that one just went right into that guy's cheek and he was splat against the wall. I was like, ooh, that would be so painful.
All this, all that, like, quick editing and like quick cuts to, yeah, this, what the heck, this is insane. This is, yeah, this, wow, this looks like from a, wow, this is
Yeah,
like the most horror moment in the entire film.
yeah,
Just like this wall of bodies, this, not even wall, this entire, like, hallway of bodies just trying to get out and then stuck. Man, but anyway, the quick cuts to the catapult, not catapult, excuse me, but I think the scorpions, or whatever they are, or scorpios, excuse me, is, it kind of reminded me of that shot, that fun scene in Assault on Precinct 13, where we just see like the three protagonists start shooting like all the guys outside, and just quick cuts to them, and it was, I don't know, just something about it was weird.
so sorry. That scene when he pushes those guys out and we see that CGI shot of his head. I remember in the theater bursting out laughing at that,
Nice, glad you have that memory.
and there was one other moment in this where I remember in the theater just I couldn't contain my laughter at a line delivery from Bill Nye, which I think is coming up. This is a cool moment. I actually really like this. Now that they're out in the sun where he can't get him.
He's safe. You're fine. Escape.
Yeah, and then he just disappears into the darkness. I think that was a pretty cool. Victor overall, I think, is a pretty imposing and good villain in this one. Maybe his best of the villain performances so far, and maybe his last. I don't know if he comes back. I'm sure he doesn't, but
I'm surprised they stuck around. Like, they literally, like, milked as much as they could out of that character. Not a Bill Nighy. I mean, I just mean, like, they took a lot from that character. I'm surprised. I'm not, like, complaining at all. I'm just like, wow, they actually, like, really try to get a lot out of him.
yeah, yeah, no, they definitely wanted to live up to the legacy of those first two at this one and try to include as much as they could. And even with all the Williams stuff in the background, we don't see him, but having his legacy be such a big part of their history here, I feel like is a good follow up to that second one as well.
Makes me wonder if the next one's another prequel, but we deal with Marcus instead.
Yeah, I know Kate Beckinsale comes back for the next one, but yeah, I've got zero clue what the hell that is. I don't even remember the ads for it, so I have no idea what happens in that one.
Honestly, dude, I only remember like the ads for the final one, or like the most. I can't say most recent, but yeah, whatever the like last one they put out. That was the only one I remember for ads.
Yeah, and by the way, this franchise does turn into Resident Evil in terms of the titles, where I get them all confused. I think the next one that we're doing is Awakenings, I think. And or actually no, I think we're doing the three animated shorts together next called Endless Wars, I think. Again, all the titles I feel like could be interchangeable, having not seen them.
I have no clue about that one. I was not. I don't even know what that one is.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we'll talk about
I
that
didn't even know
after
that was a
this.
thing. I'm gonna have to find that like online somewhere.
Yeah, you can. It's on YouTube.
The next one's called. Okay. Next one is called Awakening.
Awakening. Okay.
The final one being Blood Wars.
Now, I like Tennessee. Do you think he actually had that key hidden there, or was he just looking for any key and hoping that he could just weasel his way out of it?
I'm pretty sure it's the latter. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was like, because yeah, exactly. Like he's like, there's the key. Doesn't do anything with it. Doesn't literally like does not go to check to see if like oh hey it fits.
Yeah.
It just takes his word for it.
Well, I guess he already had his own suspicions as to who might be at fault.
Okay, maybe okay. So the poster or image for the yeah, for this movie on Microsoft Store
Mm.
has I basically Lucian in that pose, and I'm like that does not look like Michael Sheen at all. And obviously in this it might looks like him, but I'm like, huh, like that looks like somebody else, like his stunt double.
Oh God, could you imagine if they recast him in this? I feel like the movie would be completely different and would probably not work.
We're just like who?
Yeah, this is one of those cases where they definitely, if they couldn't get him back, yeah, maybe just scrap the whole idea.
It's also funny where the at least again the image they use for the Microsoft Store is him in this like leather armor or whatever it is,
Hmm.
but he's only in it for like maybe 20 minutes of the movie, and the rest he's either like shirtless or in some other garb.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, but it looks pretty cool. I can see why they would fixate on it. It's his iconic gear. Oh, and by the way, this was making me think a lot of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, or maybe it's not happening quite yet. When he goes in to see all the Lycans, that was making me think a lot of when they go and see the ghost guys under the mountain.
I was thinking the same thing where they go find the ghosts.
Yeah.
Which how did they do that in the book?
Um. I think it played pretty similarly. They were all terrified, and yeah, it worked out. They just don't play as much of a role. They kind of get lost in the combat at the end.
Oh, so do they actually participate in the battles in the book as well? Maybe not explicitly like stated in the text, but is there maybe a hint of them like still continuing on with Aragorn, Legolas, and Ghibli?
From what I remember, but I'll be finding out later this year. I restarted going through those about a month ago. Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay, that's awesome.
This time reading in print because I had such success with the listening last time. I decided to retry reading the printed version. So
You know what would have been cool is if they had gotten Christopher Lee to like narrate those.
yeah, the guy that they got, Rob Iglesias or something like that. I don't know how to say his name. He's fantastic. While I've been reading the book, I can definitely hear his singing of certain songs as I'm reading them. He had a great voice for the singing in that book. But it's been cool reading it just in print. It has a different vibe. I really like his version, but definitely has a different vibe.
You would recommend that version, eh?
Hey, it was the only way I managed to get through them at the start. So yeah, I absolutely highly recommend those audiobooks, especially if you've tried reading the books and struggled. I think it'll very much change the outlook of the story for you. I think this is a pretty good scene too. His little like half interrogation, and you can see he's doing a really good job showing that he doesn't want to believe it's her, but already kind of knows it's her. Like he looks like he's already got some grief on his face.
He's got some green on his face, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, this is also the scene when I burst out laughing in the theater because it's such a like well performed tense scene. Then all of a sudden he has this one delivery that's just so kooky and out there. It's like only Bill Nye could deliver a line that way. But we'll get to it.
The man knows what he's in, and yet he's still, treating it seriously. That's the kind of actor. That's the kind of performance I want to give if I was in theater. To know, when to, be as dramatic as I can be, and also be as over the top as I can be, and or like treat it with comedy.
Yeah, it totally works for this world. Absolutely. Yeah, and I like this reintroduction too of the fact that they can just steal the memories from drinking the blood.
Now, this made me remember. I remember this, but I was like, can you do this also to a Lycan or a werewolf? Could he also suck their blood or read their blood, whatever, and then, yeah, basically just read their memories?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Oh, but here's the line. Let's see. Maybe I'll turn it up. Let's hear this. An animal. Like, why? Why did he slow it down like that?
When I say that we are in perfect sync, like I think we
Nice.
are like that is awesome because he said like you have betrayed me. That was like on screen for me. I was like, wow, we are in sync. Perfect.
Yeah, I remember in the theater, I just like, whoa, who says it that way? Animal. Like, why break it down like that? Especially in such an intense moment. It's like, oh,
Because the character is breaking down emotionally
there you go.
because he cannot believe the fact that his daughter has been sleeping and in cahoots with the Lycan, lower inferior species or being.
Yeah, I'm excited for us to get to the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff too, because I think he has some crazy deliveries in those movies as well. Great deliveries, but some crazy ones. Such a funny guy.
Talk about where those films went. I just mean with those like last two. Like, wow. Who think I actually like I'm not saying like they're great films or anything like that, but man, like where do they get those ideas from? That was kind of a like I think that was like just from out of nowhere.
Which last two? Oh, like on Stranger.
With Dead Man's Chest. No, Dead Man's Chest and At World's End.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I'm very excited. That was yeah. That's where I began my lifelong fandom of Gore Verbinski. I think that guy's a really fascinating filmmaker. And you could feel once he left the franchise, it was like I don't know why they bothered making more. Like it, you could feel his presence just
Well,
dead.
you know why. You know why.
Yes, I know why. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that he was the most successful in those last two, but or in at World's End at least. Dead Man's Chest is great. World's End is more flawed, but I remember seeing that in the theater as well. Yeah, very excited for that.
I actually don't remember if I had seen any one of those in theaters. I saw On Stranger Tides in at the drive-in, and then I watched Dead Men Tell No Tale in
Oh,
theaters.
by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but watch this scene when she leaves. Something happens to the color grading. It goes insane. Look at that. What just happened there? Is it did it look really fucked up for you? Like it was almost like negative, like a film negative? Maybe it's just a full on Blu-ray for me.
Maybe, maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm watching technically, I suppose, the UMD version of this.
Oh, okay. UMD.
Well, sorry, UHD,
Okay, okay. Mm.
ultra high definition. Excuse me, not Universal Media Device or whatever it was called. Darn it.
Yeah, I was so stunned when I watched the other today. I was trying to look up if it was a mistake, because yeah, she turns around and suddenly it looks like the film's like a film negative. All the colors are like almost washed out, and it's this weird, this super duper weird looking image. So yeah, I don't know.
It looked more dark for me, but whatever.
Yeah, it was only a few seconds, but I even put on the film the commentary to see if they mentioned it, but they skipped right past it.
Watching this scene again, this is I kind of like this bit where it's kind of quiet, where there's like it's not fully tense, but you can see like the three players and what's about to happen. I kind of like, and there's like some tension of just like letting the scene play out and not have any dialogue other than special effects and or music, amping up the tension. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like overall this movie has a really good sense of mood, which I feel like helps carry the rather thin plot. And the thin plot, they do enough to milk what we've got here to make it have some impact, even though it's, pretty standard stuff. The slave revolt stuff, this is not anything new. And they don't really play it as if it is anything new. Just, I guess the romance wrinkle throwing that in there. Although I feel like I feel like I've seen that done pretty often too. Oh, the slave, he's got a romance with, yeah, the Lord's daughter. That, I don't know. I can't think of any examples, but I feel like I've seen it.
Attack of the Clones.
uh, I guess.
I mean, by that point, is Anakin not just a former slave?
Yeah, he's a former slave. Yeah, quite long removed, and he's not doing any sort of slave revolution. Although he should have.
And to be fair, Padme's that too. Padme's not the man like the Lord's daughter anymore. She's now a senator.
Yeah, but definitely the star-crossed lovers element is not particularly fresh.
I never knew what that word was. Like at first, I was gonna name a series that, but I didn't know what star-crossed meant. So I was like, good thing I changed it.
I kind of wondered if some of these extras that we see, if any of them are meant to be Craven.
No, because we do hear Craven's voice at the end, and they like,
Hmm.
was it they credit him as Craven, like it's the guy who played him, but I don't think he's. Yeah, I don't. I thought that maybe they're supposed to be like stand-ins for Craven, like hey, they kind of look like Craven, so
Hmm.
maybe they are, but they're not because they would have done that.
Yeah, and I did see that they tried to get the actor back, but he was just busy and didn't want to come back. They were actually going to give him the role that Tanis has in this.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I guess he was at least amicable enough to give him a voiceover.
Oh, I think that was just taken right from the first movie.
Oh, I see. Interesting. So they parted ways. I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, just like the Celine kind of cameo there. I'm pretty sure it's just straight from the first movie as well. I think.
I mean, the beginning is Kate Beckinsale. Those are new lines, correct? Or is that from the last, or is that from the first film?
Oh, I didn't even know that was her when you were saying it earlier. I was surprised.
Well, credited her as, or credited Celine as Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, well, I knew that she did want to come back for this, so yeah, that probably was her. That was just maybe all that they had for
Yeah. So we have a stand-in for you. We have like Sonia, so you're
her.
somewhat predecessor.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's understanding. There wasn't really a place for her in this story.
Well, she's currently, something more now. She's no longer a vampire, but
Yeah,
something more.
something else. Yeah.
The future.
Oh no, where's the Resident Evil tie-in? The future.
One day. One day we'll get it.
Yeah, a lot of throat slicing here.
It's all that they can do in this case. Again, are these also vampires?
That's a good question. I'm assuming that they are.
Okay, sorry. I don't. I'm gonna sound like me complaining about how Superman's written or written poorly or is no always not. But like again, it's different. It's different continuity. It's different adaptation. It's not the vampires I'm familiar with, which is the one from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Well, there's so many other ones to be familiar with.
The the book, excuse me, not the movie.
Well, to be fair, have you read that book?
Sorry,
I said, to be fair, have you read that book?
not yet. I have it over there on my desk, but I'm just like, it's a different kind of vampire though.
Yeah, but that's why I say there's so many different kinds. Like, I'm sure you're more familiar with other kinds of vampires compared to that.
I probably am. I'm probably more familiar with say like the Castlevania version,
Yeah.
but I go back to the original one though.
Yeah, I tend to just think vampires have become, they're in its own myth, just completely removed from that. You can do whatever you want with them.
I suppose so. Yeah.
I mean, how old's that story at this point?
80. No, wait. Was it 70
Could be.
or was it? I
I'm
forget.
not sure.
I mean, like 1700s or was it 1800s? I could grab it maybe later when the lights are off.
Oh, 1800s.
1800s. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't know, mid 1800s, 50s or 60s. I'll look it up.
So here's where I was like, didn't they have a child? And I'm like, oh wait, they didn't. That's right, because she got like she got exploded.
Yep.
She got melted.
Oh, 1897. Hmm.
That's insane.
Yep.
That like Shelley's Dracula comes out. Dracula, yeah, Shelley's Frankenstein, excuse me, comes out before that. That's insane. Isn't that weird? That'd be a funny thing where like you this is an Eric thing where it's just like let's go up to like millennials, Gen Zs, or alphas and ask them like, hey, which came first, Dracula or Frankenstein? And I guarantee you, people might say Dracula.
Yeah, that is interesting because Frankenstein is dramatically older.
Oh yeah,
That was 1818. Yeah.
the first science fiction film, or sorry, first science fiction novel. Pardon me.
Yeah, and I've seen so many renditions on the Frankenstein kind of myth as well, which I feel like at this point they've turned into because they're so ever changing.
I guess it is public.
And how many people even go back to the old ones at this point?
That's true. I guess it's it's public domain by this point, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And even the most of the movies with the name Dracula on them do completely different things with the vampires.
Yeah, no, it's anybody's interpretation. I just like to go back to the source. I would much prefer like the source material rather than what we've done with adaptations because there's so much stuff that had a spawned from it. Let's go back to the source and see what the point was trying, like what Bram Stoker was trying to make a point of.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I've tried to get through that book as almost as many times as Lord of the Rings. I probably started it maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time I get maybe 100 pages in max, and I'm like, okay, I'm out. I just can't do it.
Goodbye.
Yeah, that book, especially with all the epistolary stuff, that is just not for me. But I do love the Bram Stoker's Dracula film by Francis Ford Coppola. I think that is a great film.
It's just because it has Keanu Reeves in it, isn't it?
He's the worst part. He's the worst part. But the filmmaking's great, and Gary Oldman's Dracula is one of the scariest of the Dracula versions.
I
Scarier.
guess there is.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I guess there is technically no version of Dracula in this universe.
Nope. Yeah, it's a good thing they didn't cross over Blade. Yeah. Yeah, they've got a completely different myth. And again, it was kind of cool in that first one because they almost had more of a scientific explanation. It was like the gene mutations. And I guess it's the same here with Lucian. It was just a kind of, yeah, they were using these humans to feed the werewolves, and I guess one of them had sex with one of the werewolves, I guess. Or were they breeding more werewolves with the humans?
Or was it the Blade thing, where he's like the version of he's like a Dampire or Dumpier, excuse me, where like his mother got bitten by a or scratched by a werewolf and then had him while pregnant, excuse me, with him. Is there a version of that? Is there like a Dampire version of a werewolf? But what would they? I guess they would just not be.
Uh,
There would be what would they have an aversion to silver in that case, or would there be no? I guess they don't have to worry about the moon.
I think that's yeah. I'm pretty sure they do have an issue with silver because I remember in that first movie they had like the bullets that would like bleed silver.
The silver bullets. That's right. Which wait a minute. Do they have silver swords in this?
I know that we see later when they do their big attack, they like shoot some silver arrows through them and it keeps them down. And when they break the silver off,
That's no. That makes sense. No, no, no. That makes sense because we saw Lucian got two arrows in the back
yeah,
or crossbow bolts, excuse me, in the back, and then they like cut or at least broke off the wood and kept the silver. I forgot about that.
hmm
I completely forgot about that. And I guess the two little, I guess I don't know, micro frisbees were also silver.
oh yeah, yeah,
Because I guess this makes sense now. Because I was like, okay, a lot of these werewolves are going down, like they are like just going down.
yeah,
Um, and I'm like, why is that? And I completely forgot about the silver version.
yeah. And that's what's nice about adding in the more science-based aspect. Because you'd be like, oh, whatever mutation is, silver is like their ultimate poison, so it gets in their bloodstream. And they would show that in the other one, like if they had the silver poisoning, you'd see all their veins being all like dark all over them. In the first movie, I mean.
Yeah. No, I wonder if I'm sorry. I'm still on with the whole like Dampier werewolf idea.
Yeah, the dumb peel bit.
Dumpeel, yeah, that too. Um, yeah, I feel like they would just be well. Okay, so a vampire, they have less strength than a full vampire, but they're a daywalker. So this means that can a vampire werewolf transform? Oh boy, she evaporated. Oh man.
Yeah, I think that this moment, I mean, it's not like I'm tearing up, but I think it carries some decent weight.
Actually, if I'm remembering the first like that flashback scene in the first one, I actually wonder if it was in like a chamber. Well, I guess it was in a chamber, excuse me, but it was in like a circular spire rather than like a rectangular room,
Hmm.
such as this. Unless I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, it's been almost a year, so it's yeah, I don't remember.
That's a faux pas on our parts.
Yeah, sorry
Wow,
everybody.
that day and night cycle is just quick. It's like a video game.
Well, I got the sense they left him in there for hours just to look at the body.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Just well, or just what's left of the ashes.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cruel. Like, oh, just leave him in there all night. Yeah, or I guess all day. I meant night for them.
Basically, burned her at the stake.
Yeah,
Albeit, I don't know if it was a stake in this case, but she definitely charred or overdone.
yeah. I did like the shot of Victor in her room, not quite crying, but just taking that moment to himself, and this moment here as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it works, and of course he's blaming old Mister Lucian over here, his surrogate son. Yeah, that is the downside is when you take a step back and look at what all they're doing here, it makes the ambition it didn't quite the movie itself didn't quite live up to the ambition of all these bigger themes that they got. Like I feel like if they maybe they had a chance to make all this really emotional, and it's never really very emotional for me. I'm liking what they're doing, but it's not like that her death scene there had me in tears or anything like that.
Do you think it?
Oh
Oh boy. Do you think it would have like gone a little overboard had they gone full on like Romeo and Juliet, where Lucian was already a werewolf? He wasn't the first half werewolf, but he was like a werewolf, and then like she was, with the vampires, and they I don't know fell in love somehow. Okay, I'm just like I'm not buying my own question.
yeah, but I am curious talking about the moon stuff because we just saw he had those two silver things in his back. And while he was trying to push him out, they did show the moon above him.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if maybe it was meant to be that he was drawing strength from that, or that he was just in such a rage.
Both.
And then they were showing the moon to be like, look at the old werewolf ties, as more like a visual nod than anything.
I think it's both. I'm gonna go
Mm.
with that.
Yeah, Princess Yue up there was looking down and yeah, giving us some strength. Sorry for all the Avatar references, everybody.
At this point, I wonder, given that werewolves have a tie to the full moon, I'm just going to assume they also can bloodbend.
There you go. Yeah, where's that scene? Yeah, we did see him tear bending earlier with for that stupid reference when he was crying in the chamber there. Oh, look at this poor guy, man.
Just shoot him already, like Old Yeller. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. Where's the shotgun?
Put, or, I guess, rain of bullets.
I do like this. I don't know if they were planning to kill him, and then once they heard that yell and then the responding yell, maybe they all just froze. Like, oh shit, what did we just do? Or if Victor was like, "Hey, stop killing him," I feel like a big battle might happen if he was giving his revolt a chance.
Big battle, you say? Oh boy.
Yeah, and this did. I was getting ready to roll my eyes and be like, okay, time for me to tune out for the big CGI action set piece in the end. But I don't feel like they take it that far. I feel like a couple moments here to kind of indulge in the CGI action fest. But for the most part, it's more character focused.
Not only that, like this whole movie has kind of been. They almost seem stop motion. By the way, I don't. If they are CGI, I mean, it's looking more stop motion to me than like egregious CGI.
Yeah, you can tell they like did something to the speed for the CGI to try to make the motion seem more real or something. It's weird.
Well, I'll take. Even though you don't like stop motion, I'll take stop motion over CGI sometimes.
Oh god, it stands out even more so as being fake. Like I like stop motion. I think it's really cool, but it always takes me out of the story.
Well, I mean, when they did that in Terminator, I think I already mentioned this, but like it was very effective in scaring the pants off of me.
That is yeah, one of the very rare cases where it totally does work because it's meant to be robotic. When it's something that's alive and is meant to move fluid like living things do, that's when I find it jarring.
Well, you didn't like the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts?
And that you were picking examples that work because yeah, skeletons would be the same. They wouldn't move fluidly. Think of oh yeah, now I'm thinking of Ed 209. That's another one that works. How about uh
AT-ATs.
okay, another one that works.
Scene quickly kind of triggered me because it was like them finally like getting all those vampire lords getting their comeuppance. So it's like I was like kind of I like that scene.
Yeah, you're getting hyped for it, getting pumped.
Yep,
There you
yep.
go. I was getting a little bit of it too.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the silver version until I just said I was like, oh, what the heck?
I do like this. That immediately once he got the silver, I said, "Okay, leave me. I can take care of myself. Go free the rest of the
Yeah,
slaves."
yeah. Give me a second.
Whoa!
Just give me a second.
That's the second time we got a shot of them just cleaving off the top of the head and the blood spurting out. I think that's great.
That's why I was like, why the heck are they able to do that? It's like, oh, you idiot. I know why.
I love the gore of it. It's just like you cleave that spot and it's just like you hit a geyser.
Wait, so does this mean that vampires would also be in by that definition? Would vampires be like immune or not immune, but be vulnerable to gold?
Gold is that a thing with vampires having gold aversions?
Well, no, but like, well, no. Like, here's my thing. So, if silver averts, silver is a reversion to werewolves because I think it was even glass, maybe glass or something like that as well. The idea, of course, was that that back in the day they were thinking like, well, silver reflects the moon, so gold reflects the sun.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
So that's why I'm like, oh, could gold affect vampires in this case by being a reflection of the sun?
Well, it seems like the weakness for the vampires in this is you can just easily just smack their head off and they're dead.
Oh, that's there too.
I do like the outfits from like the elite soldiers there, the elite knights. Their little creepy masks, and I think they look cool. We don't get very much from. I wish we had got more of these guys because they look intense.
I actually like the fact that this movie's like pretty desaturated with color because any bright colors that stands out stand out.
Yep. No, that's true. Yeah, the red of the blood really pops.
Yeah, like when I'm thinking of that scene out of The Matrix when they're walking in the Matrix and then when they see the woman in red.
Yep. Yeah, and Victor's blue eyes always pop. I
Oh,
think that
certainly.
yeah, they look super cool in this. There's lots of great shots of him like staring forward, sitting on a chair.
You know, and he just like strips himself of his armor. Like, okay, like why'd you do that?
I wondered the same. I didn't know what the hell he was doing taking all that off.
It actually makes no sense because if they had it on still, then they could hide the fact that it may not be Bill Nighy doing all the stunts.
Well, it seems like it seems like he's game for a lot of this. You defile my daughter. I think his when he's yelling like this, he gets some funny deliveries.
Now, hang on a second. I was so even though yeah, you're not fully for this. Would you choose this over Tokyo Drift?
Oh, not full. Oh, you mean like in the movie itself or this big action?
Oh no, for like just the movie itself. Excuse me.
Oh yes, no. This I think this is far superior to Tokyo Drift.
I figured, yeah, no, I figured that was the case. This was an instance where I could see your argument with like prequels don't work because this scene means nothing at all because we know both characters are going to survive.
100%. This was actually the moment in the movie where I was like, "Hey, wait a minute. Where's Craven? Isn't Craven supposed to be the one that's pretends to kill this guy?" And that's when I had to be like, oh, "Okay, I guess they're just not going to tell the story that I thought they were going to."
And this is
But that's another problem with prequels is the whole time I was waiting for them to tell the story that I thought they were going to tell because I already know so much of his backstory. And I was thinking maybe you'd like that because you complain about with Solo. Oh, it feels like they took this character's whole life and condensed it down to one story. They're only kind of telling a piece of his story here, which I think is an interesting choice.
good point. Well, you used my own words against me, clever guy. You're right, but at the same time, I mean, only in this instance where it's like, why didn't he just, you know? Oh, I guess it was. Wait, was it the sunlight or the moonlight?
That's the sun. Yeah, he thought he was gonna kill him because he was burning in it.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like the sun. It looks more like the moon for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, shouldn't Lucian come? This is where I'm like, hang on a second. I don't know if you guys thought about this clearly because Lucian should know, excuse me, that if you wanted to really kill Victor, and that was it, just like stab it through the mouth. It's like, shouldn't you have done the same thing that he did to Sonia?
Yeah, just held him out into the sun. Mm.
Yeah, like why not? Like heck, maybe this is a bit too much, but like crucify the pucker for pit's sakes. Like put him on, a cross, and then like put him out like to the sun, and then have him burn to death.
Yeah, maybe they could have done something like beefed up the father-son dynamic and had Victor burning in the sun, and Lucian was like he couldn't bear to look, and so he left him or dropped him into the water.
Oh, it's just like fucking Obi-Wan with Anakin.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and
Yep.
that would give him the chance to leave to leave thinking he was dead, but find out later. Oh fuck, I screwed up.
Yeah, somehow that like son of a gun survived.
Yeah, and now they've taken over. This is our new home. Look at them all there,
Except
walking around like a bunch of pups.
well, we don't see where this is later on. Like, where is this? Other than being on like the Lord of the Rings set, like where is this like in terms of like Europe?
I think we kept wondering that in the first movie too. Like, where the hell does this take place? Maybe it's like a fictional country or something.
It is. It's something Ostopolis. Look at that. Yeah, Victor just survives, and I maybe they wake up one of the other guys. I don't know.
I think he's just going in there to restore because we know that he plays a more of a part in Lucien's demise later.
That's true. But yeah, this part you're right. This part was probably taken from the first film.
And it's a bit of a weird ending, but In the theater, I didn't mind it. I was like, oh, finally Selene this who I've been waiting to see this whole time. So
I think they should have maybe also cut to Lucian as well from the first film, because I know we have like this part, which I guess makes sense. Like I guess it goes full circle, but it's like, can we also see like Lucian from the first, like to tie him together as well?
yeah, I think it might have been a better, or might have been a good choice to include seeing him in his older ways. But maybe he would have looked too young as compared to how he looks in this. The actor, I mean.
Oh yeah, I suppose so.
But I feel like normally they don't care about stuff like that in movies. Like we're just we know that you know that this took place later, so just accept that they look younger.
Oh, we know. Trust me. Like this is like we made this movie, so of course we realize this is a prequel.
Yeah. But speaking of this prequel, what do we think about this? Uh, I guess starting with you.
You know, it's it's passable. It's not. I can't. What the hell was that Sonja thing? Like, what was that credit for?
I don't know. I missed it.
Okay, okay.
I can rewind it.
But anyway, you know, I I I think it's a light feeling it. What was it?
It was just Sonia's costume by Wendy
Oh,
Partridge.
I thought so. Okay, interesting. Fair enough. Um, you know, I will interesting. Interesting choice of music for the end. But these both this and Resident Evil always have interesting choices of music for the end. Um, but this is a light feel in it, but like I guess yeah, it's in the like it doesn't do anything offensive. I think
No.
it just it expands the world by giving us a prequel and does world building. Like this is like filler in a way. Like this is like if we were doing a series, like if this was a television series, excuse me. This is the season where this is like say like based off a Japanese comic book. This is the one where like the season where they do a filler because they haven't caught up to the comic yet.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It it definitely at the time felt like okay, like why do we need to tell this story? It doesn't really feel like it brings something new to the table. It just feels like okay, we're just filling in a story that was just a part of the backstory. Like it could have just kept being a part of the backstory. I didn't need to see it brought to life. Now me just knowing what this is coming in, accepting that that's what they gave us, I can enjoy it more and kind of see see that they did that well, giving us an unnecessary prequel. It didn't in any way destroy the legacy of the original ones, or something like the Star Wars prequels did for me. In terms of the if you include it, like I feel like I can include this and just be like, okay, whatever. It told that story that I didn't really need it to tell, but it told it well. Is kind of how I come away.
Like it was an in between. Like Wiseman wanted to do more. I know you say like after the second one he stops directing, but he's still a part of the series.
Mm.
Um, it's like they wanted to do like they didn't want the franchise to fade into obscurity, but they still wanted to make another one. So it's like, all right, quick, we have to like let's make a prequel, and they made it, and they're like, all right, so now we can make the next one.
Well, yeah, no. Up to this point, they'd been on a 3 year cycle. The first one, the second one comes out 3 years, the third one comes out 3 years. They all made decent money, and I almost wonder if making that prequel scene in the first or the second movie when we first see oh, what was his name? It was William, and do you remember what the other brother's name was?
Uh,
Marcus.
Marcus.
Yeah, maybe doing that little bit. They just were like, oh, we really like the fact that we could bring back um, Bill Nye, and oh, maybe we want to bring back Michael Sheen. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but maybe they just fell in love when they were doing that little prequel scene early on. They were like, let's do a whole story like this.
Yeah, no, like fair enough. I mean, I don't want to say this is like the in between filler Pete. Well, kind of does feel like this.
Yeah.
It just expands what was already there. So it's like that's great. It's a decent, medieval action film, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
sure, I was a little bit like, okay, there was a lot of quick cuts with like the fight scenes, but it's like, yeah, I could still see what they were trying to do.
Yeah. But like I feel with most prequels, yeah, I don't feel like this advanced anything. I feel like I'm basically the same point that I was having watched that second film, and this one is just a yeah passable kind of in between. Like, oh, if you like the Resident Evil series, or fuck, if you like the
How dare you? How dare you?
like, oh, if you like the Underworld series, this is a fine kind of filler piece until you get to the next part of the legacy or the whatever the ongoing story. Yeah, but if I was to do like a marathon, I might not include this one. If I was ever in a place to want to do a marathon, I don't know if I will be, but
I do wonder. I mean, did this make you go? All right, yeah, because you said, all right, no more Underworld movies after this when you originally saw this, right? So I wonder if this was a big turnoff for a lot of people.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I've got zero clue what happens after this in terms of the fandom, in terms of the box office or the writing. I just it made me just be like, okay, another franchise that isn't interested in moving forward, another franchise that just wants to desperately cling to its past. This was 2009, I was still on my extremely bitter phase following the Star Wars prequels. So, so yeah, no, I think maybe I was just carrying some of that over. Like, oh, here we go again. When are we going to move away from this terrible movement in films?
Yeah, I guess X Men Origins Wolverine didn't help, like I said.
Nope, nope. Star Trek 2, I was furious. Yeah, yeah, I just had a lifelong bias. And maybe if the Star Wars prequels hadn't come out, maybe I wouldn't have that bias. I think they really did give it to me.
Probably. Um, yeah, this is
And I carried it over to Indiana Jones too. How sad.
um, even though it came out before any of those films.
But features many of the same issues, but I didn't realize until I'd seen
That's totally fair.
or until I grew to dislike the prequels. Yeah, I was revisiting that. I was like, oh shit, it's here too. The same issues. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah, Temple of Doom's another film we'll talk about later on, and I
Yeah.
definitely enjoy that film despite it being a prequel.
Me too. I think it's the second best of the series, easily. For me.
Um,
But
yeah, no, fair enough. Despite being a prequel, so yeah, I can definitely see people thinking that this was just treading mud, like just stuck in place. Maybe like I'm not trying to like project here or anything like that, but yeah, so far as you brought up, given that we're doing both this and its sister series, um, this is definitely like even with this film, I'm pretty sure you'd still watch this Rise of the Lycans over pretty much any of those other Resident Evil films.
by the way, I like that title, Rise of the Lycans. That's what they should make a
I said like Lincoln's not Lycans. Whoops.
should make another one of those Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer movies, and yeah, call it the
Oh
Rise of the
shoot!
Lincolns.
Yeah.
And raising his
Whoops.
kids. um,
Whoops. Freudian slip. My bad.
but oh yes, this is still far superior than any of the Resident Evil movies. I maybe enjoy the first Resident Evil more, but this feels like a better told story. And I would say this is arguably still better than maybe any of the Fast and Furious sequels. Maybe Fast Five is better than this. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, okay, hang on a second. So obviously this is like a little bit more of a neutral one where it's like it's a very I don't want to say generic, but it definitely is by you could say by the numbers, but
Yeah.
it being I don't know, stylized or at least, medieval action film, I guess it has something to it.
Yeah, and it's still competent all around. Still filled with good actors you know, doing the best with what material they have. This is never going to be a great movie, great story, but they're playing as if it's better than it is. I think.
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe I'm wrong in that. Like, okay, sure, the Resident Evil films they're good to laugh at. Fair enough. Like you'd watch them just in a way of like I'm making fun of these.
Yeah.
This has not gotten to that level yet. This is still again at bet like at worst it's like skippable. But or at least like one watch and that's it. At like best it's like a good short action film.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think any of these are great yet. And I don't know if they ever will be. I don't know if they'll ever get to laughably bad or if they'll ever get to be like genuinely good, like really good. But I think that they're just it's an interesting world that I don't mind hanging out in. And I like the characters that they're giving. They're interesting as well. But yeah, none of it's great, but I just enjoy the kind of the atmosphere of it all.
I'm kind of hoping that the next two aren't terrible. I'm hoping that they're good.
Me too, of course. Yeah.
Or maybe not good, but like at least just as entertaining as the first two were. Excuse me, because that way we could literally say, all right, watch Underworld for like something of a B like movie story or a B movie action film series that's worth watching. Again, like as you said, these are mid budget films. This is cool. We don't really have these anymore, do we?
I'm sure we do. Maybe they just at least for franchises. Yeah, no, I can't really think of too many of them. I guess they had those Red Notice films on Netflix, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like they put out like individual mid-budget movies, but yeah, maybe not a big series anymore.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We're both like very light feeling it, but definitely ready to go on to the next one.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. This is all uncharted territory. Like I mentioned, we're gonna do the three short animes. That's only about 20 minutes long, so probably won't do in a commentary. I'll probably try to do a little scene by scene for the three of them.
Haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, I didn't know about this. I assume like, is it almost similar to say like the Animatrix, or is it like a different studio?
I don't know about the studio, but I could see it being similar to the Animatrix. And I did read that they said one of them is a direct prequel to the next Underworld film, Awakening.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. Yeah, very curious. And it came out the year before, so I guess not really a prequel, but in a way it is. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but since it came out first. But either way, I guess we'll find out when we see it. And thank you, Isaac, for once again joining me to talk some more Underworld, another series that you spearheaded. And yeah, I'm grateful.
Well, you're welcome, Caleb. Thank you as well for joining me on this commentary. Hopefully, like I said before, it was intellectually stimulating or at the very least entertaining to listen to, or as I often say now, white noise. Background noise just for people doing vacuuming, folding their laundry, doing their taxes, all mundane stuff, just to keep going on living. Sounds like we're all just vampires nowadays.
There you go.
And to close, if you find yourself, stuck in the dark ages, in somehow being transported back in time, and you see the Lycans and the vampires, do you side with Ash Williams as he releases the Necronomicon on them? Till next time, peace. Did not expect that joke to come out of there at all, or at least that statement to come out of there.
No.
I just thought of like, travel back in time, like, oh wait, Ash Williams did that. I guess that'd be kind of cool crossover.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get to that series.